Alright guys, what's up? What is up? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. Today we're on here, as usual, talking about LGBTQ plus topics. We talk about sexuality and gender. And, I'm, here today to provide some more updated information about some of the cool content I've been coming across. Had a few days off work, so I had a little bit more time to kind of just consume, lounge, and, consume even more. So, been having a pretty good few days. Had a birthday weekend. Felt really good about that. Had a good time. My car broke down, but whatever. It breaks down every freaking whenever. Turns out that the alternator that I got replaced in friggin' October of 2021, it blew out I guess there's like a regulator that was broken, and it blew the alternator, and the alternator blew the battery. So I'll see what of that money I can recover, because these people screwed up all my stuff, and so I think it's under warranty, but they screwed it up. So it was a mobile mechanic. That's the name of the company, I think, Mobile Mechanic, and they come to your house. And things weren't 100% working even after they did the repair, but I'm just like, at this point it's like either I get a new car and make payments on that, or I keep paying for my old ass car. So at the end of the day, I do the math, and it's still cheaper to keep getting my car fixed than it would be to be making car payments every single month. If you buy a new car, say it's near $30,000, that might take about 5-6 years to pay off. If I'm paying $100 or $200 a month to like $500 a month, that's going to take me forever to pay that off, versus this car that's already paid off. I'm still not spending $30,000 every 5 years to fix it. I'm not even spending like $5,000 every year to fix it. So, and that's what I would be paying for a new car every year. So it's kind of like, it's still cheaper, even though it's obnoxious. But let me get off this vent and rant. That's just life, right? I'm actually not too disappointed with it. I was only a little stressed, because it happened on my birthday, and it was hot, and it was checking out of a hotel with a friend, and it's like I'm not trying to deal with like my car not starting, and then like the hotel, they were being jerks. Like, I was over by the Forum, over by SoFi Stadium over there, and the hotel was being jerks because they're like, oh yeah, we use the parking for the event parking, and so either we're gonna tow your car or you're gonna have to pay for the event parking, which it said SoFi parking was $50, and I'm like, geez. And I called AAA, because I have AAA. I called them a couple times, and like by the third one, it's like my phone was dying. It was like around 13%, and then by the time I actually got my car, actually paid the tow and like just got it out of there and got back to the part of the city I needed to be in, my phone was at like 2% by that point. So I was kind of between a rock and a hard place. Like, dude, I just need to get the car out before either they tow it and I have to pay and I don't get a say in how much it's gonna cost, or before I have to pay the parking fee, and then who knows if my phone's gonna die. They weren't letting me sit in the lobby. I was like basically sitting in the shade by the carport, just like underneath some shade for like, I was there from 12:20 to like probably close to 2 or something, 2 p.m. or something. So, I was a little annoyed, but, I'd had a good night. Saw Odessa, and Tycho opened for Odessa, and it was a great show. And there was really not much that was gonna shake my energy that day, but it all worked out. And I'm like, whatever. I'm not like rolling in money, but I'm like, whatever, I can afford to get the repair, so I'm just gonna get it fixed. It's like, at this point, I just don't care. I just want the car to run fine. But there's only like 2 mechanics I've had really that I trust fully, and it's the mechanic near my family's place, and then the one that was like the neighbor where I previously lived, because they do good work. They tell you all the issues wrong with things. They've never really screwed us over. They're not the cheapest ones, they're not the fastest ones, but I think when I'm in San Diego, I'm only really gonna rely on that neighbor's shop, and then when I'm in LA, I'm only gonna rely on this mechanic that has been fixing my family's cars since I was like before high school. So I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things, like sometimes, you just want to get something done quick or efficient. And even if it costs more, it's like, whatever, I'll just get it done. But it's like a little bit annoying to have to deal with, getting multiple repairs of the same stupid thing. I already gave those guys a bad review on Yelp, honestly, too. Like, I had already, because I was trying to tell them too, like, the radio isn't working, the power doors don't work, the windows don't roll up or down if the keys aren't like in the ignition with the car on, the interior lights don't work. Like, they didn't like fix that stuff, right before the alternator blew, the first time those things were working. So I'm kind of like, why? I don't know if something blew or if there was something up with the fuse, or like what. Like, I wasn't able to figure it out all these months. And then now when I was driving basically on Friday, all of a sudden all the lights on the dash came on when I was driving, but when I was in idle and I was kind of like at a light or something, or stopped at a stop sign or something, all the lights would go away. But there was no scent, there was no smell, there was no problem seemingly other than that. So I knew something was up, but there was nothing happening before that time. Like, it just suddenly started happening. And the last time I drove before this last weekend was when I went to Cross Festival in San Diego. So I hadn't really driven for like almost a week, and so I think that was a Sunday when I got back, and I hadn't driven anywhere till like Friday. And I start the car maybe like a couple times in the middle of the week and stuff, but I didn't have any noticeable issues. And so when those lights started coming on, I was like, well, something's clearly wrong. But I was like, I kind of have to wait for it to break, like I could have taken it in right away, but it's like I was literally on my way somewhere, and I was only like less than 20 minutes from where I needed to be. So I was like, let me just drive the car. But I kind of expected, it's probably going to break down, in all honesty. And sure enough, the morning came around, didn't start. Put the keys in the ignition. There wasn't even that like indicator, like dinging sound. No lights came on, no nothing. It was just like completely done. Couldn't start it, couldn't do anything. And the night before, we had gone out for tacos, like once we checked in and everything, and like we got some food before the concert, went out for tacos, and we found like a taco shop and got some food. I got like enchiladas, and my friend got what did she get? I know she got chilaquiles the next morning, but I don't remember what she got. I think she got tacos that night. It was a really cool spot, so we went back the next day, and my friend was nice to give me some birthday Mexican food, which is amazing, and it held me over till it was time to, time to go, with the tow truck and all that. But it was a rough kind of part of my weekend, but it was just, honestly, it was only a couple hours, and I was doing my best not to stress. I was just mostly like, look, the only real issue is here, you're going to be down some dollars, you're going to be without a car for a couple days, and, you're going to have a couple hours out of your birthday where you're kind of just getting drained by sitting out here, and, like, I knew things were going to work out, so I was trying not to stress. I was like, whatever, it's just one of those inconveniences. Like, having a car is a luxury, having a car is a blessing, that's kind of how I see it, when it breaks, you got to deal with it. I still got my health, I still got my job, I still get a paycheck, it's like, I could afford to go to, like, a concert and get a little hotel and, like, hang out with friends and, like, get my car fixed, or I don't need to drive to work because I work remotely. It's like, it's not the end of the world. It's not like I was in town for the weekend and needed to be back in San Diego by Monday and then I don't have a car for a couple extra days. It wasn't like that. Like, I literally am fine. So that's kind of what I was trying to remind myself, and it kind of helped me a lot. But anyways, so today I wanted to talk about July. Her name is spelled her name is spelled JELIE, JELIE. So if you look up July 303, or if you look up Kickback Couture, Couture spelled COUTURE. She's an LGBT black female producer, poet, rapper, songwriter, YouTuber. I believe she went to music school. I don't know if she went to business school. I've seen her on a TED Talk before. And the most recent video I was checking out was this video where she is kind of being interviewed and then kind of showing like a bit of a tutorial masterclass type of video. So let me see. So let me find the details, and I'll try and post it in the description. So if you look at Reason Studios, they had a live stream that they replayed. This is from like a year ago though, and it's episode 12. So it's July of Kickback Couture, and the series is called Your Reason to Stay Inside. So people who may or may not know about Reason used to be Propellerhead software. It used to be propellerhead.se, because it's not American, and it was basically it's music production software. It's the coolest software. I don't know, like, I like Ableton Live as well, and I like some other stuff too, but for me, like, I've really always gelled with Reason because it's got everything from, like, just making it easy and, like, uploading samples, and just, like, or you can, like, make everything from scratch, from, like, the hi-hats and all this stuff. You can, like, load it and, like, edit it and, like, make like literally make your own instruments to specified sounds as much as you want. I don't know how long they've been doing this, but they changed to be called Reason. So Propellerhead had software like Reason, Record, a bunch of other stuff, and then they changed the company name to Reason Studios. I fell off of it for a while because of like getting so involved in like grad school and then working in mental health. I just kind of fell off of using Reason and Record, and like when my computer went out, and then like I lost all my music that I made and all this kind of stuff. Like not all of it, but I lost like the unfinished drafts. And I lost a lot of stuff, and it kind of was really disappointing for me. And so I just kind of was like, let me step back for this. And I had this, it has a flash drive that has all your information on there. And so even with the flash drive, I lost the freaking flash drive. So what you're supposed to be able to do is download the software on any computer, and as long as you have that flash drive, it's kind of like a product key that gets you back loaded on to your software, or and then from that point, once it's logged in and like official on that computer, you're able to log in as long as you have internet connection. It's just a username and password. And so I lost that flash drive, and I have no clue where it is. I keep looking for it because I know I didn't throw it out on purpose, but it could be anywhere. And I thought I knew where it was, and I don't. And so especially because I've been between LA and San Diego for so long, and then I had a couple years there during the pandemic where I hardly came up. So then I kind of just lost track of it. And I do this thing when I'm in LA or San Diego where I'm like, oh, I think I saw it in San Diego when I'm in LA. And then when I'm in LA, I'm like, no, it's probably in, when I'm in San Diego, I'm like, it was probably in LA. And so I go back and forth between my stuff, and like, I didn't keep it on me. That's one thing I know. I took it out of, like, I usually have backpacks where I keep all my stuff. Certain stuff I just never take out of those backpacks, or if I take it out, I put it back immediately, just so I know I always have like a spare whatever it is, like earbuds or whatever it may be, like phone charger or something like that. I'll just always keep it in the same bag. And so I was reorganizing a couple of my backpacks, and I was just like taking stuff out, and that's when I took it out. And then I thought I put it somewhere that apparently it's not there. And I mean, nobody really messes with my stuff in this house, but in recent years I think we got robbed once, and so it's possible it could have been taken when our house got robbed. I don't really know, because it's not like I was using it actively, because I didn't have a computer with Reason on it. I was kind of like rocking this like old computer for a while, but yeah. So I like Reason Studios. I learned how to create music on there. I used to get Computer Music Magazine and Future Music Magazine. They used to have all these like CDs, DVDs, tutorials and stuff on how to like make stuff, and so I would just like follow along the tutorials that had like anything with Reason and try to like follow along. And then I used to use Record with my guitar, because you could plug it in and actually like record without MIDI, and you could just like record like as if you were recording just like audio input to your computer. And so I started doing that for a while, and then so all the songs I made, I had put them up on SoundCloud, and then all the other stuff, like I said, I lost, and because my hard drive went bad and in an old laptop of mine, and I hadn't backed it up. I thought I had backed it up actually, but then when I looked, I was like, not everything was even on there. So I was like, geez. So that was just totally a bummer. But yeah, I had come across July when I got back into Reason, like kind of more recently during this, transitional time in 2022, I've been like, let me get back into like the art of things and things that I really love doing, because that was really sustaining me for so many years. And I was just like, why am I feeling the way I do? Like, I don't really feel good. I'm like feeling crappy all the time. And I was like, I remember I didn't used to feel like that when I was like making music, and I was just, I got like, I need some kind of outlet to like let things out that's not like therapy necessarily, even though I believe in therapy and I do engage with therapists like when I need to, or even when I don't need to. Like, I'm not like ashamed to say it, or I don't like preach the whole like don't get a therapist thing. Like, I, even if I'm just having like a stressful week, or I have like a week off or something, I'll get a therapist just to like get my life a little more balanced, just to like, if I can afford it and I want to, I'll do it. And so I don't really care. I'm just like, yeah, sometimes it doesn't hurt to have the extra support. Sometimes they're not the most supportive, or like sometimes the money isn't really well spent, because sometimes they're not as good as I would prefer, but that's more rare. Even the ones that don't help me reach like all my goals, or the ones that kind of seem like minimally engaged and kind of just like repeat everything that I say, like they don't really go deeper into some stuff. That's kind of what I like, is the ones that go deeper, not the ones that are like, do this meditation worksheet, and it's like, okay, like I could have done that by myself, like I know about them. I work in therapy. Like, I'm not like looking for someone to be like, I'm not like comparing them and being like, oh, like you're not good or whatever. I'm just saying like, sometimes it's like maybe the rapport's not there, or sometimes they don't seem like they're really, they just seem like they listen to what you say, and then they just kind of like reflect, and then it's like, okay, cool, thanks for understanding what I said, but it's like, I'd like to see some movement on this, yeah, sometimes it is also like an issue between like communicating with them what I actually prefer or what I need, because they're not going to be able to guess that either, right? Like, if I just go along with what they're doing and they say, and then I come out at the end saying, that wasn't super helpful, it's like I could have spoke up about it too. So it's like, I don't want to say like they're not good, because clearly they've made like a business of it, and they're good enough to be able to support themselves, so they should be good enough. But sometimes it's like, once you pay, it's not like you can like get your money back. But anyways, yeah, so I've gotten back into music and recording and back into Reason. So that's how I came across July, and I was just kind of like, really enjoying her content and her tutorials. They're probably some of the most in-depth, best updated tutorials that I've seen. A lot of it's kind of like about hip-hop beats, 808. I was learning about like the drill slides, and I just really like how she talks about music. And she was, so in this episode that I was mentioning, on Reason's channel, Reason's YouTube channel, she was talking about her life, how she started using Magic Studios. I think that's the one I started with too, because I remember before I even had a laptop, I had a desktop, and I think I either ordered it on eBay. I can't remember if it was Amazon or Alibaba or like eBay, but it was way back. I think it was before Amazon even really did what am I trying to say? Before Amazon did more than just like the textbooks, because Amazon just used to do textbooks like in my lifetime. Amazon used to just, at the beginning, they used to just do textbooks. They didn't used to have any other, they didn't have Prime. They didn't have all that, like selling just every single thing. At the very beginning, they were just like a textbook website where you can buy and resell textbooks. Yeah, so Amazon was, I think, where I initially purchased my first music producing software. And I think it was the same one that July used, called Magic's Studio or something like that. Magic's Music Studio, something like that. It was cheap and it was not that good. It was glitchy. It would not save your stuff all the time. It was obnoxious to try to use. And so, yeah, I kind of liked hearing that somebody else used something that I had heard of. And I initially got into it because I heard a friend, there's a gay male friend that I had that was into making music on his computer, kind of like mostly like techno, trance kind of music. He used some Sony something, and I remember I couldn't afford that one as much. I think it was called like Sony Acid or something like that. And his cost more. And I remember I saw Magic's or whatever, and I bought it, and it was basically like pre-made like samples of a lot of different stuff, like synths and drums and whatever, and you would basically just load stuff, and then you can edit a little bit, but it wasn't anywhere as near comprehensive as Reason. So from there, I remember people talked about GarageBand. And before all this, I was just using like a freaking tape deck, like literally like one of those tape recorders, and I would record onto tapes. And then between that, let me see. So after Magic's, after, I dabbled a little bit with, I think it's Audacity. When I first started using it, it was literally just like audio recording. I started in grad school using that because of, I was working with like language and like auditory perception files, and so I needed to look at like waveforms and things like that. And I remember using that. And I remember, recording on guitar and like making up some beats, and like, I would just kind of do my own layering with different tracks on the computer. And I would record on my computer with a friend who sang. And, you could kind of play back and monitor, or I would literally, for the software that I couldn't monitor while doing a playback, I would literally just have it playing in the background. Like I would have 2 sets of headphones, and I would have like one earbud in one ear and another earbud in the other ear, so I could hear it in one side and hear what I was playing through the other side. And then I would just kind of try my best to like overlay them so that they kind of matched as far as like the beats were on point and everything, and then I would just use that. Then I got into Reason. There's a blues guy that I started talking to, who I was friends with in LA, and he introduced me to Reason, and he was using FL Studio, and a lot of the magazines I came across, like computer music, a lot of people were using Ableton Live 11 or something. I don't know if it was 11. Maybe it was like older. And then, so I got a little familiar with a lot of the software, just basically through tutorials. And then I kind of fell off of it because, I got so busy and swamped and overwhelmed that I was like, okay, what's not a necessity in my life? Let me take that out. Then I started realizing more recently, this stuff is a necessity. I can't really just take it out of my life. Like, I remember ever since I was a kid, I wanted to kind of be involved in, like, knowing how to make music, even if I wasn't, like, skilled at the melodies or skilled at singing or whatever. I've always kind of had it in my mind that I want to, like, do that and use a computer for creativity. And, like, that was always something that I always just, like, gravitated towards. And, I've pretty much always had, like, some instruments at my disposal and computers and stuff. It just... I was always so swamped in school, and then got into a field where it's like I'm working so hard and so overwhelmed with the work that usually after work I'm not trying to like do more. But I do really get a lot out of my creative hobbies, and as much as it might feel like it might be a little draining, it's actually way more beneficial for me to do them than not. Kind of like similar to like working out. It's like, yeah, it might hurt a little bit, or it might be a little inconvenient to get to and from the gym, or it might be a little like, okay, like I need a couple recovery days, or like maybe it's a little expensive buying like proper food and nutrition and stuff, but ultimately you feel so much better when you're doing it, right? And that's kind of how it is for me with all my creative stuff. So I really liked coming across July at this time in my life, because I was already, I'm already like out and online and already like kind of popping around all over on the internet, like trying to see what's what. So I liked how July in that interview was talking about where she started, that her dad was into music production. This is like pre like computer times, like mostly just through instruments and things. Well, there were computers, but it wasn't like right now how you have like software where you can literally just get it. Like right now I think it's about $20 a month to have Reason 12, a subscription every month on my computer. And I think out of pocket, I can't remember if it's close to like, I don't remember the price. I don't even want to say it. I don't know if it's like closer to 300 or closer to like 600-700. But I remember I was like, I don't even know if I'm really gonna like get back into this stuff. So I told myself once I get about 6 or 7 songs done, I'll pay for it. I think I've been paying for it since May or June. Yeah, so it's not that expensive, and I think there's a free trial if you've never tried it, so I'd recommend trying it. It's not really an easy piratable software because of having to have that physical flash drive and stuff. But I also was thinking, what if I find the freaking flash drive? Because I do have an old copy, and it's cheaper to actually just like update to the current version. So I'm hoping if all, I really hope I can come across that freaking flash drive. I just have no idea where it would be. I have no idea. Like when I lose stuff, it is lost. Like I thought it was literally on my nightstand, and then I thought it was like in my car glove box, and that's where I was like, oh, this is definitely where it's at, because I saw it there so much. And then I just don't see it anymore, so I don't really know. It's very possible that it got stolen, because it's something that I would see all the time. I just can't remember where it was at. And I really don't think I would have thrown it away, because I've had it for like years by this point, like years, literally years. I think originally what I did with Reason, how I got it, was I purchased an old version of Reason off of eBay. It was like old. I don't remember what version it was, but I remember it came in a box, a physical box. The box was like a pastel teal, kind of light blue type color. And then I upgraded from there. Yeah, so I remember upgrading from there. And I think I bought Reason with Record. I don't remember what order I did this in. This was like so long ago. But anyways, so July was talking about being raised. This is kind of a spoiler. The whole thing I'm saying is a spoiler, but she was talking about being raised in a household where she was like making music and was using like one of the PlayStations. I think it was PlayStation 3 that had some video games on there that had some music. The other guy was mentioning like Parappa the Rapper, and like she was like, yeah, familiar with that. And I was thinking back too about like the methods that I started earlier on. Like I was always into like hip hop, rap, stuff like that, but I'm kind of not, I'm I'm not like very lyrically outgoing, and even less so when it's my own lyrics. I'm a little more outgoing when it's like I'm recording by myself in my room, and just like I'll eventually post it up on the internet somewhere, when it's about as good as I'm gonna get it. But it's hard for me to practice singing because I'm self-conscious about my voice. I'm probably equally self-conscious about my rapping. But I do like to play guitar and sing. Or sing with other people. So if I do karaoke with friends or something, I really like that. Or if I'm just like playing guitar and singing, I'm more comfortable having my guitar to sing, too, because I can really get like into it. But yeah, otherwise I'm pretty shy, and it's really hard for me to record lyrically. But I will do it. I just don't really practice. I got better at singing, even though I'm not good at it now. I got better at singing. I did see improvements when I used to use the what was that freaking thing called? Propellerhead has like this app called Take. No, it's the other one. It's Smule. Smule has this app called Sing, and I used to get that for like, I think it was like $1.99 a week or something, like $1.99, not $199 a week or something. Or you can just keep it for free, but the free version doesn't have like as many songs. But usually I would look up kind of like songs that I knew, and I would just like sing them. And basically it monitors when you have your headphones in, so it's like playing the track in the background, and you can like sing along to it, and you can kind of do a little bit of editing to it when you're done. So that's how I used to practice singing. I used to just go in my car down the street and just like sing in a parking lot, in my car at night in the dark when there's nobody around. And I would do that every night for like, when I started doing it for like a month or 2 months or something, I did notice improvements. Like when I would play back, what I had recorded and saved, because it saves it in the app. You just got to make sure not to post it. It automatically default posts. It used to be opposite, where you had to click the button and toggle to post it, and now it's opposite. I think the last time I used it, it automatically posts. So that's not good if you don't want other people hearing your stuff, and you'll be posting it all over like Twitter and YouTube, and people are just going to be like, oh, what's this song that you're posting? And it's just you just like embarrassingly singing some weird ass song. And then I think you have an option to do video as you record yourself singing, and you have an option to collab with other people who want to do the same song, and you can kind of do like a duet, or like record on like with their song. And so now it's like a duet, because there's like 2 parts sometimes or whatever. So that's kind of cool. I think July was saying her, she was been rapping since she was like, before she was able to fully talk the words out. She was still like babbling. When she was kind of like in a babbling stage as a baby, she was kind of like understanding of like how rap lyrics kind of worked in the music. So she was very early on kind of doing that. And I noticed for myself, I was pretty early on, not necessarily rapping or singing, but more so with beats. Like I would always like notice beats, and I'm able to kind of do this really complex beat and rhythm in my head. But I don't know, I stopped myself from recording. I kind of write the same way when I write stories. And, I had a friend who, I don't know why I took his critique, to heart so much. But, I used to write a lot of stories. And once I let him read one of my stories, and he was saying how it was very, I was jumping back and forth, basically. It was a story about somebody in a dream, and I was jumping between the story and the guy being in a dream. And he was like, you should just write it, just half of it write it like the dream, and half of it write it like the main story. And I was like, but this is my creative work, and that's kind of how I wanted it to be. And I kind of took it as like a negative criticism, and I kind of just stopped sharing a lot of what I wrote and stopped, writing kind of more like complex like that. And then it kind of transferred over into my music, where I stopped writing more complex type of music, and I was like, this is jumbled and it's too complex, and people aren't gonna like it because it's not basic, but it really got me unmotivated, because I was like, I like the complexity of the music that I come up with. And so I really wanted to kind of instead, go back into some of the stuff that I was like really writing before. So, note to self, note to y'all, if it's your own creative vibe, nobody can tell you it's right or wrong. There's no wrong to it. If you're not harming anybody, you're not harming yourself. There's no wrong way to do your art, so, people can go screw themselves if they don't like it. They can just not listen to it, not read it, not tune into it. You don't have to, if they're really going to be that engaged in your stuff and they don't like it, I mean, that's them wasting their time and energy, right? It's not on you. So that was my lesson learned. And I try not to be too concerned about critiques. I do try to take them as like, okay, this is the perception that other people are getting, and like, is that the point I'm trying to get across? Because sometimes it's like you want something to be just simple and plain, and if it's not, it's good to hear, oh, that wasn't simple and plain, like, okay, now I know. But other than that, it's like, other than like the disconnect or like the connectedness of what I think I'm doing and what other people are perceiving, other than that, if I'm not trying to get a point across and I'm just trying to like get my stuff out, and just kind of do my artistic flow, I don't see any reason to have another person involved. So yeah, and I do respect my friends and other professional people's and family members' opinions of my work, like the people who tune into stuff, whether it's podcasting or websites or whatever the heck, short stories I've written for Christmas and all this kind of stuff. Like, sometimes I like hearing what they have to say, but other times I'm like, I didn't really do this for a review, so yeah, I can kind of relate to the early on kind of stage of music, just being interested in music and the early stages of it. Like, I'm not going to talk fully about my own music history on here. But yeah, I really liked hearing what July had to say. If you guys ever tune into her content and even watching like the video clips or like her music videos, she's got music videos out. She's got a lot of songs out, very, very talented in my opinion. Like, I'm not like a music critic, so I don't really know, but it's like, it's definitely stuff that I'm like, oh, she's got a new one out, like, let me check it out. And it is kind of hard to engage with artists that you might not see, out in the forefront, but she's very talented, very humble, like, as far as personality, just seems like very positive, down to earth, just like the kind of person that, is just chill to like watch content. I wish she was posting like every day, like 5-10 times a day. I'd totally be there, like, tuning into it. It was cool to see her in an interview, because usually when I watch her content, it's like, it's fine, but it's like, usually when I watch her content, it's just her individually by herself, like in her studio, like recording herself doing the tutorials. But it was kind of cool to see her like interacting with another person. I really liked that. Like, it kind of showed her personality more, and I was like, that's really cool. Like, she just seems like she's having fun, and she's just there for like providing good content to people. And I was just like, it's just so motivational to see people that are minorities, or even if they're not minorities racially, but she's black, female, queer, or whatever. I don't know her exact sexual identity, but LGBTQ plus person, kind of masc presenting person, and has a cool style, and just really has a cool personality, and you can kind of tell that when somebody's kind of like got a cool personality, and I really like that. I was like, this is really cool. And from the first thing I saw her post, the first tutorial that I came across of hers, that wasn't her first post, but the first tutorial I came across of hers, I was like, she's so good, like, just like even listening, just to like listen to what she has to say and what she's doing and what she's up to is like, it's really cool. And again, like another person in their 20s, I think she's in her mid-20s, and she's already got like a small business, gone through school, a lot of talent. It's just, like lately I've been kind of in a slump, and you guys can probably tell. Most of the stuff I recorded during the pandemic was just all the BS I was dealing with. And then coming out of it, it's all this transitional phase. And so it's nice to kind of step into something that's familiar, that I feel like I was kind of meant to be in that kind of space. And it's kind of nice to see people who look like me, who kind of have things going similar to kind of like what my goals would look like, to have like at least something on the side that's kind of like like a business on the side. Like I had one before, but it just, COVID just kind of knocked it down. And it was I wasn't taking it seriously before. Like, it wasn't in music or like YouTube or anything. I had two things I did, but the biggest one was like buying and reselling and doing some mild repairs on iPhone 6. Like that was my hustle, and it was good, and it was good money, and it was convenient, but basically it was just the money I used to party with. All I wanted to do was party, and so I was like, well, I don't make a lot of money, so I need extra money. And it was the way that I could be like, okay, like I need to make this many sales by this date to be able to buy tickets for this thing. And that's usually how I did, like probably like a year and a half, but it was very scalable. I could tell how much I was going to make, and I was able to kind of just say, okay, if I need $150, this is what I got to do. If I need $300, this is what I got to do. If I need like $800, this is what I got to do. And it was very like predictable, like not 100% predictable, but very predictable. But everything changes. That changed for me. I actually stopped doing it. It might still be very scalable now, but nobody, like, iPhone 6 is obsolete now. Like, you don't really buy them anymore. Like, you can come across anything, and somebody might like it and want it, but I mean, overall, you can't update it anymore. You can't, Apple just like forgets their products. They're just like, we moved on, like, sorry, so you kind of got to move on with them, or just like forget about it and choose a whole different brand. That's how it goes with Apple. Either you take it or leave it as it is. But yeah, I'd recommend checking out some of JELIE'S content, especially if you're musical or just like geeking out on people doing their hobbies in music and business, and like, I can tell it takes a lot. She's very talented, very together, organized. It's just cool to see. Like, I always get ideas from people when I see, their method of getting things done. I'm like, okay, like, they're consistent. You kind of see the consistency, and I'm still kind of early on what I'm doing with all the podcasting. I'm just, I kind of went from more of like a venting, just like, I'm just on here to like vent my frustrations. And if somebody wants to hear it, or if somebody wants something that's relatable and they happen to kind of vibe with it, the content's there. But, I kind of would prefer to not just be like online complaining. And I don't really have, honestly, like, when I look at it, it's like I don't have a lot to complain about. Like, I can always find something to complain about, but I'm really trying to get better with that, because I know, I have a lot of blessings in life. I have a lot of positive stuff in my life. Like I said, yeah, car trouble, hiccups, whatever. Like, I've had hiccups, I've had stuff kind of come up that's, like, not ideal, but I feel like so long as I'm able to recover my funds from it, and as long as I still have work, and as long as I still have benefits from my work, it's like, it's not really that big of a deal. The stuff that happens, as long as I can afford it, and I'm not going into, like, massive debt to have to afford it. So I'm I think overall things in my life are okay. But yeah, definitely, if you get the time and energy, check out her content. It's really cool stuff. You probably would like it. I really like it. I'm about to go back online in a few minutes and, like, check out her stuff and, like, oh man, catch up with her stuff. And yeah, and just randomly, I've been watching a lot of women's under 20 soccer. It's under 20 World Cup women's soccer right now, and a lot of women's National League soccer and Sparks, the LA Sparks, WNBA games and stuff. I've been really kind of watching a lot of, like, women's sports, and that for some reason also kind of, like, is something that I like. I mean, I don't mind any kind of sports, but it's kind of cool to, like, trying to be a little more supportive of women's sports. It's kind of something that I'm kind of vibing with lately. It kind of motivates me to, like, exercise and work out a little bit. And yeah, so that's kind of what I've been up to lately. Just some of it. Like, there's a lot. I've been up to a lot lately, guys, but yeah, I'm still trying to post often. I just, I'm doing a lot, so it's kind of hard. And as you can tell, I'm trying to keep these. I've said before I'm gonna try the 8 to 15 minute range, and I just, I feel like I can't really get them shorter because I like to ramble. So, I don't know if people gravitate more towards the short or the longer content. I had one on here where I was just, like, rambling about nothing, and then people seem to like it, so it's like, I don't even know what to say. But I'm just trying to put out there kind of what I get up to, and if some of it that I come across is, like, related to, like, gender and LGBTQ plus kind of topics, I try to post it on here. Just pretty much anything that comes up that's not, like, something too personal, or involving, like, specific friends or whatever. Like, I'm never really on here trying to talk specifics. So because everybody, I believe in people having their privacy. I'm not like, okay, every time I go hang out with a specific person, I need to, like, post it. Like, I don't even think anyone on here knows who I am. But if they do, I don't think they even care. But it's just, just common courtesy. I don't think I need to be, like, talking about other people's lives and stuff. Like, I have my own life. I'm a very private person as it is. It might not seem like it, but I am. I'm willing to share things, though, when I think it's, like, valuable to share. But I'm not really on here to be just, like, outing people and, like, gossiping. Like, that really isn't worth my time. In all honesty, it's not worth my time. Like, unless it's some major thing that, like, I'm venting about, I'm usually not going to be anywhere near to talking about anybody I know. So, but yeah, check it out. Check out July. Check out Kickback Couture. Check out July 303. It's all good stuff. A lot of good, rhymes. A lot of, like, very intelligent. A lot of intelligent content. You could tell July's super smart. Very intelligent. a lot of times too, something that I find kind of interesting, and then I'm gonna get off of here soon, but something I find very interesting, growing up as a black female person, like, you never really see black female people with businesses, let alone queer representation. Like, when I was growing up, that was not a thing you would see at all, hardly at all. I remember, I mean, this is probably even like weird to even share, but like, I remember being in like, I was probably in like college, and the professor was like, what's one prejudice that you have, and I specifically remember writing this because there was only me and like one other black female in the class. And I remember writing, two things on there. I was like, okay, one, if I want to be, not too real, and authentic with this answer, I can put some fluff answer. So I literally put that, this is kind of like my more socially acceptable answer, that I thought that when I would see old people, like elderly old people, like with a cane or like a walker or a wheelchair, and just kind of like with the gray hair and just walking slowly and stuff like that, I would always assume that they were grumpy and like mean, kind of like crotchety, kind of like, like that kind of easily irritated kind of old person. I used to kind of assume that. It wasn't really an assumption that like affected my life at all. But I specifically remember saying, that I wasn't sure if when I would first meet black people, I wasn't sure if they were intelligent, which is it was a stupid, ignorant thing to say. And, I'm a black person myself. And I remember specifically saying that on it was just like a little extra credit assignment we had to do for school in like community college, and we just had to write like a sentence or two sentences about a prejudice or something. And I don't even know what class it was, but we just had to write that to turn it in at the end of the class. And I remember I wrote that, and I remember the professor put like a comment on my paper, something like, wow, that's, intense, or something like that. He was like a white male professor, and I was just like, by the comment he made, I was like, oh, like, this is, my way of thinking is flawed, Now, I wasn't really talking about people that I got to know. I was talking more so about, like, when I just first see somebody, first impressions, And from that point on, which is still late in my life, but I'm, like, way old now. But from that point on, I remember being like, let me challenge this. And I'm like, I'm black, I'm female, I'm smart. My brother's black, super smart. My sister's black, super smart. My dad is black, super smart. My mom's a really smart person. She's a black person. She's got a lot of like strong emotional intelligence, patience, compassion. I'm not saying she's not book smart, but of all of us, she's probably not like her life path didn't really lead her too much into like the book route. But when she went to school and stuff, she did fine in school and college and work and everything. Like, strong work ethic, smart person, never had trouble keeping work, never was getting fired from jobs, nothing like that. Went to school, did really well. Plenty of other people I went to church with. I remember I didn't really grow up with a lot of black people around me, but I remember like my cousins who were like immigrating from Zimbabwe. A lot of them were, smart, bilingual, some of them trilingual, will come to the U.S., did just fine in school. Every single one of them did perfectly fine. They were all financially stable. A lot of them have kids, got married, raised families, support themselves. They're all good financially. They're all really smart, intelligent, educated people. When I started going to a church that had more black people. A lot of the musicians were black people, and they were very skilled, talented, guitar, bass, singing, piano, keyboard, I remember, trying to get like involved in the praise team, and I was like, I don't even understand this. And then they had like, like with the gospel music and the jazz chords, like I don't understand it. Like I wasn't raised around that type of music. I love the music. Obviously, I love it. Like when I was a kid, I used to listen to jazz and like classical, and I was really into it, attracted to it. Like, it's just as far as playing the music, I didn't grow up playing that. I grew up playing more like punk, like contemporary Christian rock music, metal, a little bit of classical. I didn't really grow up playing a lot of like jazz and blues and stuff like that. So when I started, getting more involved with that in college age, around people who were like playing more music like that, and I would kind of just hang around, watch the pianist play, hang around. I remember there's a choir that we were able to be in, but it's like if you didn't really want to perform, you could still just be there to learn. And I remember this guy, like I still kind of know this guy. Like a lot of these people I still kind of know, but we don't like talk regularly. It's just, we grew up together. We spent time together. We have friends in common. We have, people who, it's a big social network with the Adventists. And so we all still know of each other and stuff. This guy's still out there like killing it with music. And I remember being in that. I was like, okay, like I hear these guys singing, and I really want to be good at singing like them, or learn anything I can learn, and it's free. And they had this choir practice where like you didn't really have to be in the choir, but you could still come into the practice and learn the music, sing along. And this guy, he didn't have an instrument in front of him. He would just talk about, okay, like if you're alto, soprano, like, tenors, baritones, bass, sit here. We're like in the pews, but he's like organizing us, where will you sit? And then he's like, okay, these are the lyrics of the song, this is the first verse, this is the second verse, this is the chorus. Like, they were like simple lyrics, but I can't remember if we did like just the humming along first, and or with the words and the melodies first. So he would basically just be like, alto, sing this, da 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 da, like whatever. And then he'd be like, sopranos, this is what you're gonna sing, da 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 da. And so he'd just like do line by line. He knew what each group was gonna sing and what key, how it was gonna sound, and then we put it all together, and it would just sound just like amazing. And I was like, this guy was doing this in his head. Like these songs, like I think some of these songs these people would write, and he was just in his head, just like all the lyrical stuff, like this is how it's gonna sound, and then the instruments would kick in, and it's just like this fully beautiful song that was just orchestrated like within like an hour or two in an afternoon. And I'm just like, I was floored, just completely just like, wow, that is amazing that he can do this. And I was always around people writing like skits and plays, and like who were into acting and stuff like that. And like, they would write these like amazing stories and stuff. Like I think I mentioned before, like when I used to go to that church and they did like those Christmas plays and stuff, every year, like the plays were never like the regular Jesus story or like a play that you'd seen before. Like they were all like written by people that were at that church, that wrote the whole play by themselves or like with a team. And they casted the whole thing, and there was recordings and like music and soundtracks and all the set and everything. Like they organized it, they kind of like said how it was all gonna be, and they did all this by themselves. And I was just like, when I looked at all that, I was like, there's no freaking way that I can say that there's not talent and intellect and just an intelligence here. That it was kind of interesting when I started comparing my actual life and what was actually happening and what I was witnessing in my day-to-day, weekend-to-weekend, kind of life. I was like, there's so much, intelligence within, the Black community and African Americans, and I was just seeing it all around me. But it was never, ever, ever, ever like held up or glorified or ever like, talked about. It was always like, those guys, they sing gospel, they sing too loud, they dance when they sing, they clap and move a little bit too much. And it was always kind of like shamed almost, because I was going to like a multiracial, like contemporary Christian church, and they kind of like shamed the other kind of cultural stuff. And I was like, man, that kind of stuff really can stick with you. I was like, how can even a person who's like the same race can even think that those kind of things about their own people? Like, it's pretty ridiculous, right? And it's like, it's even embarrassing to even like say, like, I don't even think like that anymore. And I wasn't like fully thinking like that when I was like younger or anything. It's just something that I kind of, in college, I started to like question. I was like questioning myself, and I was like, why don't I see Black people at these schools where I go to? Like, why don't I see, I was just kind of wondering, like, why am I not seeing this? Why is there so much difference? I'm not seeing the places where I go to stores to shop. I'm not seeing these like businesses being owned by Black people. Like, I wasn't in the side of LA where there were like a lot of Black owned businesses at all. It was all like Japanese owned, Korean owned, white owned. There was never hardly any Black people. Where I went to school, out of 2,000 students, there were maybe 30 Black people tops. I never really saw a lot of Black people. So of course I was like, well, how come we're not anywhere over here and we're all over in this other part of the city? I mean, I wasn't even paying attention to all the systemic stuff. Definitely, like, it's just clear as night and day that is, a system that just doesn't work. And even someone, as social as I am, I was even thinking, that something's up. And I, of course it was like, blame the victim, right? It's the people's fault that they're not there. They're not doing good enough or whatever. But, the more I challenged it and the more I just like opened my freaking eyes and like saw what was around me, I was like, wow, like, I was so flawed in thinking that. And now with the internet and everybody having like access to all sorts of stuff and being able to bring themselves up, even with the algorithms trying to keep us down and everything, it's like, I even look around and I can see, even in the younger Black queer community, kind of millennial age people, Gen Z age people, we're all up on the internet and just like doing our own thing. And, it doesn't matter like what race you are or anything. I'm not really talking so much about race, but it's just like, a lot of us get these messages that we're, when we don't see ourselves, we kind of might start to question, like, why aren't my people thriving, and, that's why I kind of like to talk a little bit about like reviews of people's content and just like talk about it. 'Cause I'm like, yeah, there are people out there, these people that I'm talking about are thriving. Ashley Gavin, I've talked about her, Brianne Williamson, I've talked about her, Taco Tarantino, like all these people, Rita Brent, like all these people that I've been talking about, they're thriving. July, they're thriving. They've got their own business. It's out there clear as night and day on the internet. You can see how I don't know the behind the scenes, but you can see what they're doing. But you have to go and search them out on your own. This stuff doesn't likely just pop up in your feed, right? It's not getting recommended to you. So I figure I'll recommend it to you, because, I'm not going to recommend anything that I don't think is interesting just because they're like queer or like gender queer or whatever. I'm not just going to like recommend it just because. But yeah, like it's quality content. And I question and ask, why isn't it being pushed to the forefront? Some of these comedians, they're funnier than all the other ones. Some of these musicians, they're funnier than a lot. They're better, musicians than a lot of the stuff that I hear mainstream. And like I said, like I'm in LA, I'm often in LA, and lately I'm living in LA, and it's the entertainment hub, one of the entertainment hubs of the whole entire world. Like, we're around music all the time. If I want to find a drum circle, I can find one. If I want to go to like a Guitar Center or like a Sam Ash or whatever and just like jam out in the acoustic room with some random guy who's just like there all day long, I'm around music all the time. Like, it's not something that's hard to find. There's people busking all over the place, on the beaches, like whatever the heck, everywhere. If I want to go to like a free show or a live show or an open mic or anything, I can find it easily if I just quickly search on it. And there's stuff going on almost every single day. And, a lot of it just doesn't get promoted. And, I almost worry that it's becoming another form of systemic oppression, that it just isn't adding up. Like, how come the talent isn't being shown? There's a lot of LGBT talent. There's a lot of non-binary talent. There's a lot of, different ethnic minority talent. There's a lot of different talent out there that I've been coming across the more I search. And I'm like, why isn't anybody talking about these people? And I've noticed that's kind of a trend. If it's Asian, if it's Latino, if it's gay, if it's gender non-conforming or non-binary or any LGBTQ plus stuff, if it's black, or even like, international, a lot of that's not going to be getting pushed. And so, I would just encourage people to go out of your way and search for stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. You give people a camera or a microphone and give them the internet, and they're able to do so much stuff. And we're no longer really held by not having access to technology so much. So like, I grew up with grandparents in Zimbabwe that I didn't grow up with them, but I grew up with my grandparents living in Zimbabwe, me being in LA, and there was a time they didn't even have an actual landline house phone. They would have to call from like a neighbor's house, from a different person's house, and they never had internet. Later on in my life, people in those areas started getting Wi-Fi, internet, smartphones. But yeah, like, it's interesting. There were other countries where people didn't even have smartphones back then. And then I remember, like, when I was watching that movie, The Social Network, the lady who was like the attorney in training, whatever she was called, she was like, oh yeah, Facebook, they've got Facebook in Bosnia, but they don't even have roads. It's like, there are a lot of places that are maybe, I don't know. I've stopped liking the word underdeveloped, but like, they're not considered developed countries. They're maybe third world countries, but they've got internet, they've got Facebook, they've got Instagram. It's like, they're on there too, and you can see life from their perspective too. But a lot of this stuff doesn't get pushed, and it's like, there's like one majority theme that you kind of see. Otherwise, you got to search out of it and find it for yourself. Like, the content's out there now, you guys. Like, LGBT content's out there, genderqueer content is out there, ethnic minority, racial minority, all different type of minority content is out there. You really just have to go search and find it. The talent is there, the intellect is there. There are smart, intelligent people in every group. The media tries to feed us these lies, basically, to make everybody feel bad. Because, if you feel bad, you'll consume, right? You'll consume something to make you feel better. And that's kind of the American model right there, is like, make them feel bad, or, put awareness in their mind of all the negative stuff. And then when they know the negative stuff, they'll try to find something that's going to make them feel better. And some of that is just BS and lies. Honestly, it's like, you're fine as you are. If you need help, get help. But if you don't need help, you're fine as you are. And nobody can tell you that you're less than, or that you're just because you were born a certain way, or born from a certain place or whatever, or born looking a certain way, or born like gravitating towards a certain way, that you're not as good as the people who you see in the mainstream. Those are all lies. And so I'm glad I found that out early enough in life to be able to at least provide content to, counter that. But look around, we're being lied to about a lot of stuff, and it seems like it's getting better on the surface, but in a lot of ways it's getting worse too, because people are finding ways to like hide, the good content. They're finding ways to hide the intellectual, talented, smart people that are trying to like help people awaken to like a different reality of things. They're trying to like hide that so that people stay in this stuck mindset, in this sickened mindset, in this mindset of like, I'm nothing, I'm worthless, like, okay, like maybe things will get better like way later, and I have no power and no control now. And if there's something you're not finding, something you can't find that you can't see, and you can help that problem, make that content yourself. If you know something that you think would be beneficial, just, make that content yourself. Doesn't have to be a podcast, doesn't have to be YouTube. It can be just whatever content you want to create on your own. And just put it out there. Somebody's going to find it. Somebody's going to find it valuable. And it'll be beneficial to your life too. Just, be smart, be respectful, and, keep things private that need to be private. You're not going to like run around putting your address and phone number on everything. Like there are people out there that aren't really up to any good, so you don't want them finding you. Yeah, that's my long ass rant, but I hope that was helpful and informative, and I said a whole lot more than I was planning on saying, but all right, thanks for listening.